Oh, hello there. You're back. You know, it's interesting. After last time, I thought you would have been initiated for sure. But I guess that wasn't the case. Well, either way, I've got 3 new tips to help you out to achieve that overall goal of becoming a Kingsman. Tip number 1, your hygiene has got to be up to snuff. Because the last thing we need from our agent saving the world is bad breath, greasy hair, and looking like you haven't bathed in a week. Tip number 2, you've got to be aware of your surroundings. If you don't know what's around you, more than likely your enemy will use it against you and you will be dead within moments. And tip number 3, if you're going to shoot somebody, do be polite about it.
Kingsman: The Golden Circle is the sequel to the very beloved Matthew Vaughn directed film Kingsman: The Secret Service that came out in 2014, and is the continuing adventure of Eggsy, played by Taron Egerton. And one night after getting through with his Kingsmanly duties, he discovers that the Kingsman headquarters have been completely destroyed, so him, along with Mark Strong, head to America to meet up with their American counterparts, the Statesman, so they can figure out who destroyed the headquarters and also what kind of villainous person would do this. Starting out, the whole idea of the Statesman is something I thoroughly enjoyed. The fact that there's an American version of the Kingsman is interesting enough, but when you find out that their ideologies are very, very different, that makes it even better. For one thing, the whole strict guidelines that the Kingsmen have about being a gentleman, the Statesmen do not, because the Statesmen believe in being a very, very good person, but they're not afraid to beat you over the head if you're being a jerk in any way, no matter how polite you're being. And I also have to admit, Eggsy was taken to a very deep and emotional place in this movie, and it was very, very enjoyable. Because after the events of the last Kingsman movie, it would be nuts to believe that Eggsy wouldn't be going through some emotional turmoil, and he does in this movie. Personally, for me, Taron Egerton's performance as Eggsy in this film is much better than it was in the first movie. And just like last time, the violence in this movie does not hold back, and it is extremely stylized, and it's pretty enjoyable to watch too. The best action movie in the film, hands down, was that scene when Pedro Pascal was out in the snow, twirling his revolvers around in a circular motion and just taking out goons. It was well choreographed, well stylized, and just overall plain awesome. However, even though there is a lot of really cool action in this movie, sometimes it can get overbearing. You remember the style of the violence in the last Kingsman film, where the camera would be zooming in and out and around the characters, and there would be a lot of time remapping to seem like everything was going faster? There is about 3 times more of those action scenes in this film than there was in the last Kingsman movie. Now, as far as my bigger problems with this movie, while I will admit there was a large number of characters in this movie, and for the most part, all of them were great, there were some subplots and some characters that I felt could have been completely taken out, and the film would have been no different. Take, for instance, Julianne Moore's character, Poppy. First of all, her performance in this movie, I don't know if she was trying to be over the top because she thought she was in a Bond film, but she was a complete cartoon, complete over-the-top Bond villain in a movie where every other actor was taking things pretty seriously. Also, it pains me to say that while I recognize what Matthew Vaughn was trying to do with bringing Colin Firth into this movie and the emotional gravity that he would bring, it feels as though Harry, Colin Firth could have been taken out of the movie and nothing really would have changed. You tweak everything around and everything pretty much stays the same. Guys, Kingsman: The Golden Circle has some elements from the first film that make it thoroughly enjoyable. Some great characters, really great stylized action, a pretty good soundtrack, but unfortunately, with the villainous aspect and so many subplots, it really is a step down for me intellectually from Kingsman: The Secret Service. But it's still a fairly enjoyable action movie, so I'll say that Kingsman: The Golden Circle is a casual watch. But as always, it is what you guys say that matters. So have you had a chance to see Kingsman: The Golden Circle yet? And what did you think about it? More importantly, who do you think is cooler, Kingsman or Statesman? It's up to you, and whatever you may think, leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts. And if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right there and subscribe and become part of the fray of nerds who love cinema. You all have a fantastic day.